The Big Show with me, Alex Belfield, and my next guest are four of the most famous pop stars in the world. They've had massive hits. They're wet, wet, wet. The first cab off the rank is Marti Pellow. What was it like being you during the 80s? Because you were massive, weren't you?
Do you know, Wet, 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 back in 1987, we became, with Sweet Little Mystery and songs like that, we became pin-ups. We were smash hits fodder, and there was posters on the wall, but we never took it seriously. Marti was forever, and forever will be, the pin-up. I think the rest of us, we really got on with the job in hand, which is the making sure the gigs are great, making sure the recordings are great, making sure the songs are cool, and getting on with the job of being a working musician. And I think that's why we're still here 20 years later. If we had pandered to the haircuts and trying to look, get the good skin regime going, then I think we would have faded like many other bands.
What's it like being you today and coming back after a 5-year break and now reforming this group, going back in front of the fans and trying to be as good as people remember you? Because that's difficult, isn't it, Neil? When you're remembered better than you are, is that an extra pressure for you?
Well, actually, we actually come back in 2004 to correct you there. We come back with our greatest hits, and we've done a tour back then. But no, I mean, we're just enjoying doing our music, and that's what we enjoy doing, and hopefully other people will enjoy that as well and come along with us. So
yeah, if I can add to that, there is no pressure. I've always said it since day one. If you want to go up every morning and do a 9-to-5 job and digging a hole in the road, there's pressure. Being in a band, there's an awful lot of downtime where you sit around. The making of the songs, we take 2.5 years to make an album. We're real slow, so there's no pressure there either. Going on the road, when you get onto the big stages of the UK, you have to put on a show. It's about entertainment, and we pull out all the big guns. We have all the biggest songs with the lasers and screens and explosions and everything with bells on. So no, I think we're better. What we definitely are is more relaxed. That's for sure. You sit back.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, back in '87, it was like Wet, Wet, Wet was our lives. That was a major part. We used to eat and drink and sleep wet, wet, wet. Whereas now we've all well, not all of us, but most of us have got wives and girlfriends and kids, and so it's a little different now.
Is it as exciting, is it as fun when you're stood in the wings and you hear the roar of the crowd and it goes dark and you know that you've got to go on and do the business? Are you looking forward to that as much as you did 10 years ago?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, like Tommy said, we've been in the studio for like a year and a half, 2 years, and kind of slogging away and trying to write songs, and the benefit from that is you come out and you get to play these songs in front of like a live audience, and there's no better feeling than seeing people sing to your songs that you've worked hard on, and seeing their reaction in their eyes and seeing them dancing and singing along.
With the new album Timeless being released, so the good thing about it is the new album, we get new songs to play, keeps us excited. It keeps us on the kind of edge of our seats, because we have to concentrate and work so hard to make sure those live up to the same standard as the previous songs. So that's the payoff for us, and then hopefully the people that came along when we just did the December tour there, I think with 2007, spectacular, huge venues, and it's always good to know that towards the end you can pull out Love Is All Around and Good Night Girl and say, you think that was good? Wait till you hear this, and the whole place, the roof comes off every time, without doubt. We're in a very lucky position, and we do not take it for granted. I think the break of not being together, I think what that gave us is the perspective that was necessary. If we hadn't taken the break, I think we were disappearing up a dark hole. Yes, but be careful how you say that. But there's definitely light shining there now.
I want to go back and talk a bit about the songwriting process, because it always fascinates me. Same with a comedian. How do you know a joke's funny? How do you know a song's any good? It must still be surprising to you when you release an album and you think that's the song that everybody's going to love, and of course they don't. They hate it, and then they love track 12 or something.
That has happened to us so many times. The Wet to Wet got together, and for once we were unanimous. This was years ago, and we said, that's the perfect song. This is going to be the one that breaks this album. I think it was back on the Holding Back the River, and the song was Holding Back the River. This bluesy, very musician thing, a musician's kind of song. We thought, that's it, plus we've got high profile, this is going to crack it. Number 46 in the charts, and then sank without a trace. Since then, we take advice. We do the albums and we sit back and we go, we play it to everyone. Anyone that comes anywhere near the house, come in, postman, come in, listen to this. What do you think? And you basically take the opinions of other people. Oh, I like that, and that's good, oh, that's dancey. You still end up with 2 or 3 songs, and then the big decision, what's your first single going to be? There was 4 different opinions with the new single, Too Many People. And you're looking, you're saying, right, well, that's dancey, but that's more commercial, and that's got a better chorus, and all these different elements. And you kind of battle it out. When I say battle it out, we have creative discussions now. We don't have arguments.
Because they're so mature.
So mature now, and it ended up with too many people, and I think it was the right choice.
It was interesting earlier when you talked about the best of album, because the record industry is continuing to change, and certainly in the last couple of years it's unrecognisable from what it was with podcasts and downloads and all this business. Is it a worry for you bringing out an album? Because are people actually buying albums anymore or downloading albums, or is it just one or two tracks?
For Wet Wet Wet, it's always got to be about the songs and the album. We come from a time where you bought your album, you read all the notes, and that's how you discovered, we grew up with your bands. We know it's different, but we'll still go down the same route. We'll still make a record and put it out. Whether people buy it or not, or download it, that's neither here nor there. We know when we bring out a new song, we get to go and do this sort of thing. You get to talk into microphones, tell everybody about it, and invariably you get to go on stage and continue your career. Had we decided to sit back and every 4 or 5 years bring out the greatest hits again, repackaged with an extra track, then we would have become nothing except a nostalgia band. And I think that's a never diminishing return, and I don't think it's satisfying artistically. The only way that Wet Wet can continue is to do new songs, and whether that means putting it out and posting it to people or downloading it or podcasts, whatever it takes, we're here to do it.
A few questions I want to ask you about being you today. I mean, you've taken some time out. In that time, what did you do, firstly? All
right, well, for me, I took a break from music business, and it's the best lesson I could have learned. At the time when Wet Wet broke up, it was quite a dark cloud was sitting over the top of us. But the reason for the dark cloud was mainly because even though we'd 10 years success, we'd 5 years before that had been, so 15 years. We needed a break. And the success had got to a level where it was infringing on everything. I had young children. I still do have young children, but they were even younger then. And it was there was no time for them. There was no time for family life. Everything was Wet Wet. So for me, the sabbatical was very well earned and very necessary, just to bring. We talked earlier about coming back down to earth. That's what that done.
And what about you, Neil?
Well, like Tommy says, I mean, it was pretty dark for me as well, because you're kind of like. You're used to travelling or getting up and doing something, and then it all kind of suddenly stopped and the phone stopped ringing, and it's really strange because you've been so used to that kind of lifestyle. So I bought a flat in London, and I moved down to London for a couple of years, and I'd kind of done some various work with Graham, the bass player, and other things, but nothing really came together, so I didn't really do very much. I was just kind of lost. So
I suppose you really see who your true mates are and who your real fans are and supporters are in terms of the people around you. Yeah. Because once you're not on that top of the pops every week, and once you're not the big star anymore, it's very quick to see who is suddenly not interested in going to somebody else who is.
Yeah, well, we unfortunately ended up getting caught up in all that. The glamour, for some reason, we swore it would never happen, that we'd never become victims of the business, and we did. We all ended up kind of believing the hype to an extent. And I said earlier that the best lesson is when it does stop and no one does call. That person you've known for 4 years from the record company who's your best mate. No, he's not. It's a business. He's there to make money. And we're just the product. Now we've turned the tables. Now we have our own record label. We don't need the majors. We talked about how the industry has changed. It's changed in our favour. Well, we can go and do it. Yeah, we don't need a fleet of trucks to go and deliver it anymore, because you've got the internet. You've got other companies that actually do the distribution and things. So the music we've got down pat. Now we're learning the other side of the business. And we're kind of we could have sat back and just done everything major. No, let's get in a van and let's get out there. Let's go round. And we're playing these small shows as well. It's not all about the 10,000 seaters. We've been playing some gigs that are 200 people for various charity events or whatever, and they're nerve-wracking, because you're not going on with the big songs with a 2-hour set. You're going on with an hour set, and you're trying to cram in as many of the new songs as possible. So we're looking at each other and we're counting and going, right, how's this one start again and finish it? It's a very exciting time for us.
And presumably when there's only 200 people, you can see every one of their eyes and see how they're reacting if they're going to sleep, and they can also throw things at you.
Yes, underwear's optional, obviously. It's soft, so at least that's got a soft landing. I mean, it's been great fun. It just basically has, to be back out again. I think we've mentioned the word a few times. We're just really appreciating the fact that we're in a lucky enough position that we can go and do big shows and play these songs.
Thanks again, and congratulations, and welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to be back.
The Alex Belfield In Conversation podcast with daisymedia.co.uk. Alex Belfield.
It's been lengthy. It's always joyful to playing Wet and working with. Yeah, it's you know, it's a pleasure. It's hard work, you know, obviously getting the songs together and trying to be creative all the time. But I think, you know, to see the fruits of your labour, I think that's when it all makes sense, and that's when it makes it worthwhile. And it's like anything in this life, you know, anything that is worthwhile takes a lot of hard work, you know, and it's sometimes the hardest thing to do, you know. But, you know, it's great. We're now out there playing the album, playing the new songs, and getting an instant reaction, and that's what it's about, you know. And really, what's coming back is that people genuinely like what they're hearing, and that's mission accomplished.
That's very fortunate, isn't it?
Very fortunate indeed. Yeah, I mean, the album's coming out, and you never really know how it's going to be received, whether they're going to like it, whether they're going to dislike it, you know. And really, ultimately, you don't know either. You know, you think that you've done your best work, obviously, you know, because you've put your heart and soul into it, but you never really know until you actually play it.
I want to talk to you about being in the band, because I said to the other guys, to Neil and Tommy, that you've got a guy at the front who's got all the ladies, he's got all the knickers being thrown at him, and you're doing the hard work at the back, and you don't get any credit.
Yeah, well, that's the name of the game, isn't it? That's fine by me, you know. I mean, that's just the way that the music business tends to be. But I think, you know, that's a pretty superficial look at it, you know. And I think when you scratch the surface and they look at the bass player, they'll actually see a really good looking guy.
The thing about you, Marty, is if I could just be you for one day. I mean, I'm a deeply unattractive man, and just to be you for one day.
You're selling yourself. Come on. You know that radio was the first. You know you're perfect for it. You're being hard on yourself there. I mean, to be me for a day, I thought I would not see that as an enjoyable experience. I'd see that more as an affliction.
The ladies just seem to love you, don't they?
Well, I wish that if the ladies find you aesthetically pleasing, then that's a beautiful thing. But it's certainly not a premise to base one's career on.
Let's talk about your career, Marty, the one that everybody talks about and knows the name of in the band. Do you like that, or do you wish you could be Graham at the back, or the drummer, or someone else, and kind of take a sidestep?
Well, I think that your character dictates your role, especially in a group. You know, this is what this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a singer, and all that encompasses some good. That you've got the good things and the bad things, you know. But I think being the catalyst and at the front of the band is what I'm meant to do. You know, and I think everybody's roles are infinitely just as important. I mean, it's swings and roundabouts. That's where I come into my own. You know, if people are paying too much attention to the bass player, then I'm not doing my job right.
Tell me about the recording process and how you put a song together. Is there one person in the band who has more say?
Yeah, the bank manager.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one to define, you know, that sort of question. We get asked that quite a lot. How do you write a song? What's the process? And really, there isn't one specific process. There isn't one way of doing it. You know, it's not like, oh, here's how it starts. Basically, you know, we get the musical side together, and then we'll look at the other aspects of the song. And, you know, it's really what turns us on and what we think's good. And usually, not always, but usually if we like it, you know, the people that follow us will like it as well, you know. But as you say, you know, there has to be one person, and that person is me. That's ultimate authority and what is actually put out there.
Yeah, and then I oversee him in an executive producer capacity.
Who's coming to see you these days?
Well, you know,
I've got a couple of friends coming down from Birmingham who are coming.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is a lot of females that we cannot deny. But what surprised me was in Manchester, there was a lot of gentlemen, and they were singing all the words, you know, and that kind of took me a little bit by surprise, you know, because these concerts, you have to answer a question and then you get the tickets, you know. So, I mean, it's not that people can just go and buy them. They have to be fans of the band, you know. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, there's a mixed audience, you know. There's some young people there, you know. There's some people our age, which is the obvious one because, you know, they've grown up with the band, and you know, there's guys there. So, I mean, there's a whole kind of demographic. It's not just one specific kind of audience that we're catering for. It's, you know, it's everybody, you know. Our music's not just for one type of person, it's for everybody, you know.
I want to talk about the hedonism of Wet, Wet, Wet in the old days when you were here before. It seems to me you worked so hard to be successful. Then you had that big hit, which was an international mega hit, and it destroyed everything.
I don't know, that's a difficult question, you know. I think that it would be very easy to say that was the catalyst for it all, I know, but
when you've had 10 years of work living out of each of our pockets, and for us growing up together and experiencing all these sort of things, and having the success that we did have, where initially it was only 4 people who believed in us, then it became millions, and working every day that God sends for 10 years, and you know, and touring, and it's like all the things you wanted to do, but it's like eating chocolate every day. There comes a time where you have to have a sabbatical of some sort, and how you go about doing that was very hard for we kind of sort of imploded in ourselves, and we had to go away to come back, you know. And I think the priorities had to be weighed up, and everybody's wants and needs. I'm trying to get as much information in a small amount of, to answer your question, but everybody's wants and needs changed the more you grow as a person, and what we expected from Wet Wet Wet. And I think at the end up around about 98, it was time to say goodbye, and that had to happen. Unfortunately, it wasn't probably as in an amicable way as we would have liked to have done it, but then again, that's youth and arrogance for us, and the older you get, you just wish you could have said, I'll tell you what, let's just close the chapter and we'll come back in a year, and that would have been ideal.
Very finally, Marty, I just want to talk to you about Love Is All Around. I saw an interview with Pavarotti on Larry King once, and he said, how does it feel to know that your music will be around a long time after you've died? How does it feel to know you've made a classic that will still probably be played in 100 years?
I'm just still trying to go over the bit of you saying that I'm going to die.
It's amazing it hasn't happened sooner, really, isn't it? I mean,
what's happening? Yeah, let's face it. I think that the point of having Love Is All Around is in your armoury, and it's going to be a song that'll be played many years to come is fantastic. I think that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to have, because we're the catalyst for that song, Good, Bad or Indifferent, and it has brought enjoyment to millions and millions, and 4 Scotsmen too.
It is always sad to me when I interview stars who resent the thing that made them famous. You have to embrace what the public love, because ultimately they're the people who are paying for you to be here today.
You don't have the choice, you know. I mean, that's what I realised pretty early on was, you know, we make the music, but ultimately people decide what they're going to enjoy about you, you know, and that's often the hardest thing to take, because you think you know yourself better than anyone else, but really it's always the surprises that get thrown up, you know. I mean, we did Love Is All Around, for example. One New Year, we spent a day and a half on it, didn't even think about it. We got asked to be part of a movie that was called 4 Weddings and a Funeral. What do we know? Yeah, let's do it. And then all of a sudden it just takes on this kind of life all on its own, and we couldn't control that, you know. We had almost nothing to do with that. That was just a song that just broke out the box.
It was a happy mistake.
It just went running, man, and that's why I say we can't dictate what the people are going to like, you know. We just make the music, and as Marty says, we are the catalyst for the music that people enjoy, you know.
There is a certain irony with this business that you can spend 2.5 years making a new album, and you make a song in 72 hours that is the thing that everybody remembers you for.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, isn't it?
That's the whole thing about it, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, we've had more number 1 songs with other people's songs than we have with our own, but that's what we do. We do great versions of songs, and we like to sing it, and we enjoy songwriting. If it, you know, when Goodnight Girl went to number 1, which was a self-penned song of ours, it was just absolutely, it was fulfilling. But when Love Is All Around went to number 1, it was just as fulfilling, because we make these songs our own, and that's why we have such a strong identity, and that's why we're having a career that spans decades.
Congratulations on the new album. It's really listenable, it's really good, and it's really different. Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
The Alex Belfield In Conversation podcast with daisymedia.co.uk.